Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you my best tips and tools to create beautiful home decor on a budget. Today's video is a little bit different. I wanted to try to use up some of the supplies that I have in my craft room, specifically wood items from Dollar Tree. So today I have 5 projects for you. Farmhouse, one is patriotic but can be used for any theme or season. I really hope you guys enjoy these projects. And with all that being said, let's get crafting. For today's first project, the wood items from Dollar Tree from my stash I'm using are this beaded wreath and this circle with the beaded hanger. It's got a shiplap look to it. So first I am going to remove the beaded hanger. Of course, I'm going to save the beads because I can definitely use these on a future project. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm measuring out how many beads I need to take off of this wreath to be able to have it fit perfectly around the edges of our little circle shape here from Dollar Tree. When I bend the wreath here around to the shape of the circle, it looks like if I take 4 off, that's going to be about perfect. I'm going to take off some excess of this metal wire here and bend it around to make my wreath or my hoop of beads just a little bit smaller so that it fits the size of the board. Now that I have the beads the size to fit the round, I'm going to give them a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. I'm just going to paint them around the top edge like this, trying to get in between the beads. Then I'll flip it over to the other side just to make sure I get them painted completely. To make this into a tray, I'm also going to use this nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cover the inside bottom, the part that's the shiplap looking wood, with nautical rope. So I'm starting around the outside edge, doing a little bit at a time, just laying down some hot glue, then pressing the rope into the glue. We're going to just keep going around the circle till we get all the way to the center. Next, I took some of this faux leather from Dollar Tree that was in my stash. I liked this dark blue color. I thought it'd be good in case you decided to use this tray to display some nautical decor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to cut 2 strips that are 1 inch wide. I'm going to make little handles or straps for my tray with this, and this is pretty thin, so I was able to cut the double layer, the folded over layer with my trimmer, no problem. So there's 1 strip. I'm going to cut a second one, and then you're going to see I'm going to glue the 2 halves of each strip to itself so that you just see the blue faux leather, and then we'll let those dry. So before I glue these, I'm kind of taking my strip and just seeing how long it's going to be. When I did the long side of the piece of faux leather, it was a little long, so I'm cutting about 1.5 inches to 2 inches off each of my little handles here, and then they seem to be about the right size for this small size of tray. So again, I'm just going to take glue. I'm just using wood glue because it's here, and just putting a little bit between, and then I'm going to fold this in half and let it dry, and we'll do that for both of the straps. Once those straps were dry, I'm going to take them now and I'm hot gluing the ends of them around this outer edge of our tray. And you can see I'm leaving about an inch gap in between, and then I'm going to do the other strap directly across. So these are going to be like little handles on our tray. Then to finish off our tray, I'm going to take my bead wreath here, and once I get it all the way in shape to match up with the tray, I'm going to take my hot glue and go all the way around that circle and then place that bead wreath on top to finish off our tray. And here's our finished tray. I love this with the rope, and you can definitely style this for any season or holiday or every day. For today's second DIY, I'm going to use 2 sets of these wall shelves that I can find at my Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some MDF USA letters, but I'm going to show you a Dollar Tree version that you can use as well. So these come 2 in a pack. They're nice and thick wood. They're meant to be wall shelves, so they do have the holes in them, but I'm going to show you how you can take care of that. I'm just sanding the edges a little bit, trying to get the rough edges of those holes. And then we're going to attach these 4 rectangles together to make one larger sign base. So here you can see I am using a combination of wood glue and hot glue to attach these together. I'm just attaching them on the side edges here, and we're going to use, like I said, that wood glue for that permanent hold, but that hot glue for the initial grab to keep these together while the wood glue dries completely. So I hope this inspires you to see that you can take some of these smaller wood pieces from Dollar Tree and make larger signs with them. Now, like I said, I'm going to use some MDF letters, but you could always use the USA from this Dollar Tree patriotic sign. I'm going to use these instead, but you've seen me use those letters from the signs before. So what I'm going to do first with these is I'm going to give them a coat of white Waverly chalk paint, because we are going to decoupage a patriotic napkin to the top of these letters. Then once those are dry, I'm going to put a generous layer of Mod Podge on just the top of each letter. We're going to apply this evenly and then let it dry completely. While those are drying, we'll come back to our boards that are now glued together and secure. I'm going to use Waverly chalk paint in the colors Crimson and Ocean, and I'm just going to paint each block or rectangular section of the sign every other color. So I'm going to do Crimson on the left and skip one and do the third one, and then we'll come back and we'll use the Ocean Blue on the other 2 sections. Now that the Mod Podge is dried on our letters, we're going to take our napkin. I believe this was from Dollar Tree maybe last year or the year before. Make sure that we just have the top layer, and then we're going to place this over our letters so that we can iron the napkin onto the Mod Podge and onto the letter. Next, taking my scissors here, I'm going to cut around each letter just so that we can separate the three of them, and then we'll just trim off some of the excess napkin. Then taking our little hand sander, we will clean up the edges of the napkin from around each of the letters. Once our letters are all cleaned up, we're going to take our Mod Podge again, and we're going to gently brush a layer of Mod Podge over the top of the napkin just to make sure it stays sealed down on our letter and does not peel up. While those are drying, we'll come back to our red and blue board, and I'm just going to sand these, give it a little bit of a smoother finish, a little bit of a distressed look. I'm going to do the two red sections and then clean my little sandpaper, do the blue sections, and then I am going to go around the edges and distress the edges, give them a little bit of a natural wood look around those edges and in between each of the sections of the board. Next, we're going to take some hot glue, and I'm going to run a line of it covering over the holes in the shelves, and we're going to run this Dollar Tree. I think it was in the coastal section last year, but it's got some nice patriotic colors on it, and we're going to do this down both sides to hide our holes. Then flipping it over to the back, we'll just tack down the edges of our ribbons onto the back of our board. And the last step will be to glue down our three letters that we Mod Podged the star napkin to. And just starting with the S right in the middle there, and then doing the U above and the A below. I hope you guys like this idea and see that you could definitely take this technique and use it for any colors, any napkin, any word that you want to put on the sign. For project number 3, I'm going to use 4 of these arch windows in my stash and also some tumbling tower blocks and this wood dowel. I'm going to first, from each of the arch windows here, remove the little cardboard sign and as much of the glue as I can with my fingers. Once I get that off, you'll see I'm going to use my heating tool here and just scrape off the rest of that glue from the center. I decided I wanted to lighten up the color of these windows for my lantern, so I'm taking a chippy brush and my white Waverly chalk paint and just kind of messily covering over the gray color of these windows. I'm trying not to go in on the sides. I'm just trying to keep this as much as possible onto the front. If any does get on the sides and you don't want it there, you can always wipe it with a wipe. I am also going to paint around the outside edges of each window as well. To make the base of my lantern, I am going to use 44 tumbling tower blocks. I've made 11 lines of 4. I glued those together end by end and let those dry. And now I'm gluing those 11 lines of tumbling tower blocks together to make the base for this lantern. And it is a good idea if you're planning on painting or staining your blocks that you go ahead and wipe away any excess glue that may have seeped through. Once that's completely dry and all one piece, I'm taking my sander to kind of try to smooth out any bumps or grooves between any of the blocks, and I'm going to sand the edges as well. Once we've sanded that and wiped away any excess dust, I am going to paint this on the top and the bottom and all the side edges with Waverly chalk paint in the color black. I chose this color to match the inside of the arch windows that'll be facing each other. They're the back sides. They are black. So then the inside of our lantern will be completely black. I also have a piece of wood dowel that I measured to fit between two sides of the lantern, and I'm going to paint this with black chalk paint as well. Once all of our pieces are ready to go, I'm going to start gluing my 4 arch windows together. You can see I've got one that is facing downward on the table, and I'm going to attach the next one to the side of it. So I'm going to have 2 sides that are a little bit wider because they're going to have the side edges of the 2 windows next to them. And so you'll see what I mean here. I'm going to flip this around now, and I'm going to glue another one to the other side of that bottom arch window. Once those are completely together, you can see I've got the 3 there, and then this last one is going to fit right inside. The 2 sides of it will be held by the sides of the one on the left and the one on the right. So I'm going to put some hot glue down on the left, on the right, and then I'm going to fit that 4th window right in there. These are going to be all flat on the bottom. You could also make a lantern like this with just 2 of the arch windows and then do like paint sticks or something on the other 2 sides. But I really like this. I think it looks nice. You could add greenery to it if you like. I'm just going to keep mine pretty much simple, and I see here that I'm going to have to trim just a little bit off of my dowel. So once we get that cut to the right size, we'll add that up at the top as a little handle to carry it. The last thing I need to do before I can glue that dowel across is I need to remove the little hanger from the top of each of these arch windows. These are made to hang on the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and just unscrew those and remove them. Then we'll glue this dowel across. Then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on the bottom of our arch windows, and we're going to glue this down to our base that we made out of tumbling tower blocks. And here's our finished lantern. I love how classy this looks. Just throw a little bit of greenery in there and a battery-powered candle from Dollar Tree. For our 4th project, we're going to use one of these bamboo rings from Dollar Tree. And instead of this shiplap or pallet board you see, I'm actually going to use 2 of the longer wall shelves. I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm taking some macrame string here that I have in my stash. I'm cutting a bunch of pieces at 5 inches long, and then I'm also going to cut some at 6 inches long. We are going to loop these and knot them around this bamboo ring to make a really fun kind of boho looking project. So once I get enough of my pieces cut, I'm going to loop them over or fold them over and then pull the ends through the loop. Now this is one of the shorter pieces, so this is a 5-inch piece, and I'm going to do a few of those. Then I'm going to come back in because you can slide your knots around the ring, and we're going to add in some 6-inch. I was just going to do the 5-inch, but I thought the variety in lengths would be really cute. So you can see now we're going to take some of the longer pieces and we're putting those in between the 5-inch pieces. So you can see we've got the variety there in the lengths of our strings. We're going to just keep doing this, going all the way around our bamboo ring until we get it completely filled. Next, I'm going to take these wood letters that have been in my stash for a while. I think they're originally from Michael's, and I thought peace would be a nice word for this sign. I'm going to just stick these down to my painter's tape and give them a coat of black Waverly chalk paint. So like I said, I was originally going to use that little pallet sign from Dollar Tree Plus, but it wasn't going to be large enough for my project. So now I'm taking 2 of the wall shelves. These are just the larger version of the 4 that we used in the patriotic sign, and I'm using wood glue to attach these together. These do come 1 in a pack for $1.25 at Dollar Tree with some string and a metal ring to hang, but we're going to just glue these 2 together side by side with some wood glue. Because they're larger, I am going to secure them across the back with some giant craft sticks from Walmart. We're going to use 3 and just go 1 across the middle, 1 across the top, and 1 across the bottom. Next, I'm just going to sand this a little bit where the 2 pieces meet up just to make sure we don't have any glue that seeped through. And once we get those nice and smooth, I am going to paint this or stain it with my Waverly Antique Wax. Flipping this back over to the back, I'm going to take some of my Dollar Tree jute twine. I'm going to attach it to the back here. And then what I'm going to do, this is my method for covering up the holes on the front side of the sign, is I'm going to wrap my jute twine about 5 times around at the top and also again at the bottom, just kind of in a farmhouse haphazard way here. And then we're going to attach the end of the string with some hot glue again, and we're going to do this, like I said, at the top and the bottom of our sign to cover up the holes from the shelves. So next, placing our little macrame wreath down just for spacing, we're now going to lay down the letters that we painted black. It looks like we perfectly have the height for the letters and then the wreath above. So once I get these letters laid out how I want them, I'm just going to tack them down with a little bit of hot glue. Then to glue down our little wreath, we're going to flip it over to the back and just run a bead of hot glue on the back of those knots there until we've got it covered. Then we're going to place it on our wood sign, pressing down until that hot glue has grabbed onto the wood. And here's our finished sign. I love this little touch of boho and that I was able to use some more Dollar Tree wood items from my stash. For the last project for today, I'm now going to use that pallet sign from Dollar Tree Plus and some of these boxes that have 3 different sizes and the little bracket on the front. So I've actually decided to use just the small and the medium for this project. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little screwdriver from Dollar Tree and I'm going to remove the little brackets from the front of the boxes. This is so that I can paint them or stain them, and then we'll put the brackets back on. The next thing I'm going to do is use my heat gun to loosen up the adhesive on these stickers that are on the bottom. This really is the easiest way to remove these stickers. It did leave a little bit of adhesive on the bottom of the MDF, but that's okay. We're not going to see those anyway. So once you get your stickers removed, you can begin painting your boxes around the outside edges. I've decided that I'm going to use antique wax, so I'm just going to brush it on and then wipe off the excess. But before I do that, I want to lighten up the color of my palette sign. I had stained it for a different project, but now I want to lighten it up. So I'm going to take that chippy brush we used with the lantern project, and I'm just going to brush it over the dark wood stain look. Now coming back to our small and medium boxes, you can see I'm just taking the antique wax and brushing it around all 4 sides, and then we'll come back with a paper towel and wipe off the excess. We'll do this to both of our boxes. I decided to use my little sander to get off any of the antique wax that I had accidentally gotten up on the edge. I purely wanted to keep this antique wax just around the outside edges of my boxes. And once those were completely dry, you can just put the brackets back on the front of the boxes. I wanted to add one more Dollar Tree item to this project, so I'm measuring the inside of each of my 2 boxes, and then I'm going to cut this piece of adhesive cork from Dollar Tree, a square to fit into the bottom of each of the boxes. Once those were cut to size, we can peel off the backing on each of the squares, and it's very sticky, so then just set it down into the box. I like this, just gives another different type of texture, and then depending on what you want to use this organizer for, that might be nice to have that extra layer there. The last thing we're going to do here is we're just going to glue our 2 boxes to the palette. So this medium-sized one will be the base, and I'm gluing this to the left and the middle pieces of our little palette sign with wood glue. Once that's dry, we're going to glue the smaller one. I have this flipped around to the top right of the palette. Once that's dry, you can see it makes a cute little decorative piece. You can throw some greenery in. You can also use this as an organizer on your desk. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed these projects and it got you thinking about different ways you can use some Dollar Tree supplies in your stash. I would love to know which of these projects was your favorite. And also, is there a supply that you're able to pretty much get all the time at Dollar Tree or that you know you have now that you would like to see me create some DIYs around? Whether it's tumbling tower blocks, wood crates, the bamboo cutting boards, anything else that you think most people would be able to find at their Dollar Tree. Thanks again so much for joining me, and you guys have a great day. Take care.